Welcome to the Casual Adventure Notes podcast, the Can podcast. Lazy, easy listening about little life adventures.
And lessons.
I'm Doz.
I'm Devy.
Oh my God, it's season 2. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, well, if you probably read the little clapper closer, you could tell that we are in February. So yes, a little bit longer than a minute.
Let's kick things off with our palette cleanser before we address some of the big changes that our video people can see. And then for our audio listeners, I'll try my best to describe it as well. We'll go with our favorite one.
101 things I learned in psychology school.
I really need to go in and mark the ones we've done, but let's go with 30 today.
30, all right.
30. If you flip through the book. I might actually, so for those who are watching on videos, you will notice that we have some new guests on screens. We have 2 little fluffy dogs. One's kind of hidden behind the laptop at the moment, but he might pop up, and the other one's just sleeping on the other side of the couch. They're our dogs, Louie and Archie.
Louie is on the right, or is it left from how people are seeing it?
I don't know.
Well, that's Louie, and over there is Archie. All right, so number 30, it's actually just a quote, and the quote is by Oresma Menaken, psychotherapist. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Probably not. Trauma in a person decontextualized over time looks like personality. Trauma in a family decontextualized over time looks like family trait. Trauma in a people contextualized over time looks like culture.
What?
I'll read that again because I'm still trying to work out what it means. Trauma in a person decontextualized over time looks like personality. Trauma in a family decontextualized over time looks like family traits. Trauma in people decontextualized over time looks like culture.
I don't know what decontextualize means. And I think that's why I can't comprehend that.
I think what it's saying is that maybe experiences and stuff that happens in someone's life, such as trauma, can form part of their personality. And similarly, family traits or personalities can again be driven or be created through, again, experiences such as trauma. And that as a whole, society, again, things that impact people, sometimes it's like experiences essentially become almost embedded into people's personas. Does that make sense?
Not really. But for those who were curious about my previous question, decontextualize means considered in isolation from the context. So it means that you don't consider context, which goes against everything that I stand by. So are they saying that without the context, people are perceiving it as personality traits or culture?
I didn't understand what you said. So
Decontextualize means isolating something out of context. So it means you're ignoring the context, right?
Yeah.
So if that psychiatrist is saying decontextualize whatever is perceived as a trait or culture and stuff like that, are they basically just saying out of a context it becomes a generic adjective of someone?
I think you're on the right track. I think what I now have interpreted as when you understand the context of something that's happened to someone, you start understanding maybe the way that they behave. So maybe someone is extremely defensive in situations where you think, oh, like, I don't know why they overreacted because of that. But then when they maybe explain a certain story or background, and then you're like, oh, and then you become a lot more empathetic to why they are that way. But if you take out that context, you might just be like, oh, that person is just always, overly sensitive and just a sensitive Sally sort of type. Or I guess the other thing is maybe like you're thinking about like Japanese people. I always go back to Japan for some reason. Like Japanese people, you probably stereotype them all as being very polite and respectful. And maybe that's actually because of the way, again, that they were raised in society. And so that's embedded in their personality. And that's what we think of them. And we maybe then assume that everyone that is Japanese is respectful and polite.
I think I'm starting to understand it, but I don't think it's fully clicked. And I don't think it's going to fully click by the end of this episode. So if we do ever think about it again, it might come up in conversations.
I think I know what it is. I just explained it.
I think you get what it is. I don't, because my comprehension skills right now, it's like kind of not top tier. I don't have the energy to process.
If I got angry at something, but you knew it was because I was, deflecting because of something else that happened, you would then be understanding why I behaved that way in terms of being angry, yeah? But if you didn't have that context, i.e. decontextualized, you might think from that instance, oh, he's just really mean, or that's his personality. He's like aggressive and angry.
Okay. The psychiatrist is just saying this is how things may get categorized.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Well, that's my interpretation, but
Yeah.
Psychology is all about interpretation. It's fluid. There's no single answer. Grayscale. Blah blah blah.
Sure. Okay. Let's get into our main course. Main course, it's kind of a two-part thing.
I was going to say you forgot to I know you introduced the dogs, but we're also on like a new couch as well.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say main course is a two-part today.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
The first part is just announcing all the changes that people can see. And if you can't see, I'm about to describe it to you. So we took a little bit longer off than we intended to. And that's because we were resetting the set and the setup for how we want to do this podcast. And what we've changed for our audio listeners is our couches are different. So instead of two single couches now, we have a two-seater and a one-seater and they're next to each other. We have our dogs on cameras. This is purely driven because they used to cry every time we recorded in season 1. So now we're just giving in to them and letting them be near and close by. And the setup is kind of like a little bit different. So we don't have like a big stick with the microphone at the moment. I'm holding it. That's not probably permanent. The only reason it's like this at the moment is because I broke something. So this is just like a temporary setup. And it's a little bit empty at the moment, but we are looking to add decoration over time. But rather than like waiting for something to be perfect, we rather kind of just start again and then just build it out during this season. So we're excited for you to see it grow with us as we kind of just like plotter and turn it into like a comfy space that we can casually have conversations at. Ooh, and for our visual watchers as well, you would have noticed a new opening. I love supporting artists and small business. So I actually got the opening commissioned by a individual artist. The version that you're seeing in this episode is just a static of it. It's actually being animated at the moment. That was also one of the reasons why we were taking a break and waiting to start, because I wanted the complete animation to launch with our opener. But again, I'm starting to accept the fact that like sometimes you don't have to like wait for something to be like complete to just start something. I think sometimes it's better to start than not. And I think that's applicable at work and in life. Like I kind of adopted this new mentality where be okay with just fumbling your way through things.
That's fair enough. Like, nothing has to be perfect all the time. If you always strive for perfection, you probably drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, well, I think particularly like people who are in the creative field and stuff like that, I think like nothing's ever going to meet what you really want because you don't really know what you want because every time you look at something, you feel like you can do more to it. So I think like there's not really a true completeness when it comes to creativity. And I also think like in order to make progress, it's more productive to start over plan. Like I think fitness is a really good one. A lot of people have the tendencies when they are starting their fitness journey to like almost procrastinate and be like, I need to find the right active wear and the right runners and the right gym and the right routine. And sometimes like that drags out. But if you just start, I always say doing something at 50% is still better than doing it at 0%.
That's true. That's a good quote. Almost created your own little. Did you make that up yourself, or did you actually find it on the internet? Or just take it as you made it up? Then
I'm taking the credit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I may have read it. I read a lot of things online, in books, in media. So who knows?
Oh, it's like that. It's very similar to that quote from the Cinderella story movie. Remember with Hilary Duff? Something about like. It's like a baseball quote, and it was like, "Don't let the fear of striking out let you from playing the game," or something like that.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of iterations like that meaning. I
don't
like
know
the way
why I remember it.
Why?
I think I've watched that movie quite a few times. Big Hilary Duff stan back then. Still am, actually. Yeah.
She's a pretty cool person. She is quite iconic and probably like set up a lot of pop culture things, establishments. I don't know what the right word is.
Well, yes, definitely the meme thing, because it's this whole thing about when you try to look like you're doing work, but you're not. And it was like her doing some really like easy, not easy, but really like lackluster energy dance routine for like some music. Because she was a singer and artist back in the day. Very popular, actually.
I knew her first, as Lizzie McGuire.
Yep.
That's a very popular show about high school, basically. And then, yeah, I liked her in Lizzie McGuire, so I kind of just like watched movies that she was in naturally.
Yeah, she played that girl, not as a girl next door, just like the nice family girl, type character. That was always like the
I think she was really relatable.
Yeah, that's it. Relatable. I think that's pretty much that's why Lizzie McGuire was so popular. But then I think she pretty much, in some ways, got typecasted into that role because it was a Cinderella story. Raise Your Voice. I don't know what other film she's in, but it's the sweet girl next door kind of thing.
Yeah. Good segue into our main course, which is Korean culture. Like I'm talking about like pop culture, iconic pop culture icons and things like that. And for those especially in Western areas, Korean culture has kind of been very popularized in the last, I'm going to say decade, maybe a little bit less than a decade, but definitely in the last decade, I think it started. Particularly like things that are becoming mainstream, like K-pop. So even if you don't understand Korean, you listen to Korean music in Korean language. Korean beauty, like their beauty standards and what they perceive as pretty, is becoming pretty popular and adopted. And Korean content is also becoming more popular. So Korean dramas and Korean, I think it's called webtoons. So webtoons are kind of like equivalent of comics or mangas and stuff like that. So like these pop culture things that were more Korean is now being consumed by, worldwide, really. I think they've really blown up And I think a lot of people try to attribute it to BTS because that was a big milestone, the boy band, and they kind of had a global reach and just kind of like blew up. But I think it was a lot of things prior to that contributed to that growth. And then when they hit, everything kind of just like fell into place, and then they saw that worldwide success.
Yeah, that's right. I think my first sort of Western kind of introduction into Korean culture was that artist Psy and his song Gangnam Style. And I think that was actually pre-BTS. And that was like a massive song. Didn't even know what the song was about. I know Gangnam is an area in Seoul, a very affluent area. And then after that, I remember BTS, like they like randomly made an appearance on like, I think it was like MTV Awards in the US, and like everyone was going crazy, like in the crowds. It was like kind of boy band level madness, sort of One Direction, 5 Seconds of Summer, sort of that thing. And then, and then it kind of became a bit of a snowball effect. And then you got Blackpink, and it was actually great, as people of Asian descent to see, more prolific Asian, women and men in the media, which has obviously been more sort of, Caucasian based, particularly for us being sort of what do we call ourselves? Like
Asian?
Yes, but like Western Asian. Like we're not born in Asia. We were born like in not from our home country. Like almost like I guess it's like an ABC, ABV equivalent, like
what?
like American born Chinese, like
we're Australian, so we're Australian Asian.
Born Vietnamese, ABV.
I don't know. People just say like first generation Australian, second generation Australian, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, it's great to sort of see more Asian representation.
Representation 100% matters. I was also introduced to Korean media. I would say I was an early adopter, but I wasn't the only early adopter. I think a lot of like Asians that live in Western countries were actually into Korean media and like looked like sought out for it. And it was a big part of like their upbringing because Korea like produced a lot of good media entertainment and stuff like that did Koreans. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm Asian, you're Asian, you look like me. And then you just gravitate towards that naturally. And it's nice. So like, I think that was part of the draw as well. So my introduction was when I was younger. So it was probably two things. It was K-pop-ish, but I followed very specific bands. So I'm a big fan of 21, which is 2 and E1, which is a girl group by YG Entertainment. So the same group that produced Blackpink. I was, massive following of them. I love them because they used to have like little shows of like documentaries about like them training and them doing concerts. It's like documentary series back in the day, but it was like really you know what it was like? It was like vlogs. So before influencers and a lot of internet content and internet creators became a big thing, celebrities would have these like shows where it felt really authentic and casual and you just saw them in their everyday lives. And I used to like consume that stuff all the time. So I was a big fan of them. And then I also consumed a lot of like well-produced shows as well. So I watched so much Korean dramas growing up. It was insane. And I love that style of media. It's a little bit extra dramatic. The production value is insane. Like they put so much money into like wardrobe and costume and sets and locations to shoot at. So it's like a little bit over the top and extra, but I like eat that up. Even though it's not always realistic, I still eat it up because it's just fun. And that's kind of what got me into it. And then I kind of love this wave of it becoming more popular because now there's like more funding to do more of that stuff. And I find like in the recent years, there's more of that to consume and it's so much fun because I felt like there was only a handful of things to watch and listen to growing up. And then I felt like I went years or had to wait for such a long time before the next thing came out. And now there's just like an abundance of choices.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, accessibility probably back then to content was probably hard. And especially being like not, maybe then also not being like dubbed in English meant that if you couldn't get like a subtitle, you like, what's happening in this thing?
Yeah.
That's like so much obviously more readily available. I remember back then, like sometimes, you know, watching films that didn't actually have subtitles. So you're like, well, no point watching this anymore. But yeah, I agree as well. I think it's great to see so much more content, whether it's sort of Korean, Japanese, or even like I think Vietnamese. Like they're coming out with their own sort of drama-esque versions, and it's actually funny to see how they've all been influenced from sort of the Korean wave, both from like how they film and then direct and even style as well. But then trying to still remain true to the origins of what you know said what country. I really like personally have loved the sort of readily available Korean cuisine and that being more popularized because that sort of happens a lot in Korean dramas where you watch them eating fried chicken, going out and having Korean barbecue, kimchi becoming, you know, kind of a staple now. Like even mainstream, you know, supermarkets like Coles and Woolies stock quite a lot of Asian ingredients and food. And just the pop-up of like Korean food like around Australia. It's actually been like so good. We have such a good variety. I remember back then, like when I say back then, I'm not that old, but like 5 years ago, like there'd be like a couple of Korean fried chicken restaurants. But now like you go around and you kind of take like a couple of steps and there's one, and there's a whole bunch of franchises and they're all like generally pretty good. So yeah, loving the sort of influence and popularity because it means there's more choice and variety.
Yeah,
from a food perspective.
I like the domino effect because yeah, it went from like media to then like, oh, what's in the media? Oh my God, look at all that food they're eating. I want to eat that food, and suddenly restaurants are opening up and stuff like that. I love multiculturalism. I like that there's like a lot of things to try to open your eyes to explore new cultures, try new things. Like it's so great. But do you have a favorite like Korean show or band and stuff?
I don't actually watch too many Korean dramas. I have watched I think it's the Korean anime, like their equivalent. What do you call it? Webtoon?
No, there's comic like things. I think it's called Webtoon, and then they just get adapted into a show.
Okay.
People call them anime because sometimes they're produced by the same studio as Japanese animes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they have an official name. But what did you watch?
The one I watched was called Lookism, and that's actually on Netflix, which is a really good sort of. Well, I'm assuming it's Korean because it's based in Korea, and it's the whole plot is around the sort of beauty standards, but obviously from a male perspective and how people treat you so differently if you are, you know, the sort of quintessential attractive guy versus, you know, someone that isn't. So the whole premises is that, you know, this not so attractive guy becomes attractive and he has like two bodies, one which is his normal self and then one in this attractive body, and he just goes through life seeing how different he gets treated because he's good looking and everyone's way nicer than him. They want to be friends with him and he's living the life that he wanted, but obviously in this sort of different body. And it was actually just really like the graphics were really good. The whole sort of synopsis and plots and, you know, the things you actually learn from it again. I actually learned a lot about. It was actually how I discovered the brand Chrome Hearts, because like in there again, I think like Korean culture is a lot about brands and like looking your best, and so just coincidentally watching this show, I was like, oh, what is this brand Chrome Hearts? And then I kind of looked it up and I was like, oh, it's actually some pretty cool stuff. But that was like probably one of my like top things that I watched. I always actually rewatch it a number of times. And I just stumbled it randomly by chance on Netflix. Yeah.
There's actually a lot of Korean shows and written stuff themed similar to that, where it's like commentating on pretty privilege being such a massive part of living. It's really interesting because in Korea, there is kind of a big emphasis on like how you look. I think that's such a big thing. And I think in a weird way, part of it, it's kind of like they're acknowledging that pretty privilege is a thing and they're like just trying to take advantage of it. But at the same time, it's a little bit toxic because beauty should be subjective. So it's like unfair for those who can't get to that level, and then they
are born that way, essentially.
Yeah, and then like they're disadvantaged. And like plastic surgery is an option, but what if you can't afford plastic surgery? Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of commentary about it, which is very fascinating to follow and really like heartwarming. I don't know, that's not the right word. They're just like emotional stories that evokes like feelings, good and bad, when you like watch this stuff, because you're kind of like, ooh.
It's almost like it's trying to teach you life lessons in it.
Yeah.
Like not to judge people by the way they look, and that just because someone's also more, has more money than you or is better looking or something like that, it doesn't mean that they're less of a person.
Yeah.
And you kind of hope that a lot of those shows and movies like in some ways flow onto the reality of the world and society, whether it's in Korea or anywhere else.
I hope so. I think it's influenced me. So like all the content I tend to consume, regardless of where it's from, tends to follow a common thing. I definitely have favorite tropes that I follow. And one of the tropes I love is under the romance category. I love a good K-drama romance. And my favorite kind of tropes are just like overprotective guy that like does everything for the girl kind of thing. Like, I don't know what the summarized word for it, but like take popular boy that looks after the girl that's like kind of like not perceived as the most popular girl in school, and then he like loves her anyway, and he like puts her before everyone else.
That's such a common plot. I feel like every trailer that I've seen pop up on Netflix involves a popular guy or popular girl. It's actually that's pretty also a Western sort of teenage sort
romance
of love story. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, romance in general. But I like it because a lot of the lessons that you can learn from it is the guy normally falls in love with the girl because of like positive traits about her that are like outside of her appearance. So it's always like her personality, the fact that she's so caring to him and to others, around the fact that she puts others first. Like they highlight in hero traits that are human choices and can be within your control, which is like showing kindness as a very good example and being selfless. And I think it's a good lesson because growing up, when you are still kind of like developing who you are, I think they're good things to take away from it, that like kindness trumps all. Because I also learned from anime like similar themes where it's like if you work hard, it'll pay you off. Maybe not with your initial goal, but like it will pay off in one way or another. It's always lessons about, it's about the journey, not the destination, like all that stuff. And I think like watching that early on and then watching these main characters like feel fulfillment or see success as a result, like it's quite inspiring. I want to put a disclaimer in. I know that like a lot of romantic shows and stuff like that are quite exaggerated. And I know it's not a good reflection in real life. And I don't think that you should use fiction to set a standard in real life. But I think they're good inspiration.
Yeah, I actually probably like view it more the opposite, where I'm a bit more pessimistic, where I'm like, the world is cruel, you know, and as opposed to being like, there is hope. I just think I see it more as like more of a reality check on how dark and unkind the world can be. And with those dramas though, like, sometimes when you talk about the plot about the popular boy or the popular girl and then their love interest being at the end of the other scale, like generally they're still very like conventionally attractive. They've like done some very artificial things to make them look. It's like the glasses and like they might have bad skin and then suddenly they have a makeover and they're amazingly like attractive underneath all of that. So it's not like I haven't seen one where they've casted someone that is completely like not, attractive, and that is someone that can have a massive glow up.
And that's not the point of the story at all.
Well, kind of is, but if they're trying to sell the whole lesson about like inner beauty and stuff, why don't they have? It's almost like Beauty and the Beast. The Beast is like, actually, the Beast is not even that ugly in my opinion. But
hear me out.
But the whole idea is like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, if you're going to do a Beauty and the Beast sort of storyline but in like human teenage love, like choose a beast looking person. Don't choose someone that you put on like, like superficial things and make them look unconventionally attractive, and then next minute like they those scenes where like the girl she has like a hair in a bun and then suddenly she takes it off and then like swoops her hair, and next minute like, oh wow, she was beautiful the whole time, she didn't wear that ponytail or something.
I think that was very early 90s type media. I think there's more diversity in the casting these days, so I don't see that as big of an issue. I also think with the internet there's more opinions, socializing of what beauty is to someone. So I actually think there's actually more than one appearance now that is recognized as pretty and good. And so I don't think that kind of casting exists as much as it used to, because you can cast someone that you perceive as hot, but someone else might not perceive as hot, for example.
A lot of the Korean main, like the actors they put on the posters are always like really attractive, like the guy and the girl.
In your opinion, but then like someone else from a different culture could be like, oh, they look a bit feminine. They're a bit like light. Like, again, it's all.
But I know you can't, yes, definitely, you can't win with everyone. But I guess for the Koreans, like they would be like, those two are conventionally attractive for their standards.
Yeah. I think that's strategic. They're just playing into the market once.
Yeah.
But you're taking away from my original point, which is like, that's not the point. Oh, we're back.
That was strange.
It was like a 1 minute thing where our microphones stopped working and I can't really tell why. And I still don't really know what happened. But anyways, moving on.
None of the cords got unplugged, so it was very strange.
New setup. Gotta work it out.
Yeah, still piloting.
Back to my point. That's like not the point of what I was saying, because I was saying the plot is focused on like other things. So like the whole story is not written about their appearance. Like they're never like significant scenes. Significant scenes is like in those romances, it's like so a significant other is like showing up for them in a time of crisis, or them doing like a gesture of like love, such as like understanding their favorite food. Ooh, I have a good one. So I watched like a Asian drama not long ago, And this, like the guy, so he's like the popular one, and the girl's like a little bit quirky and fun, and then she's like been chasing him, and then he finds her endearing. They get together, right? But the stuff that makes him fall in love with her over time is one example is he's allergic to shrimp, but he never says it out loud. So when he goes to restaurants with friends and stuff like that, he just always picks it out. And like we show the contrast where like his family, who he's not that close to, they like serve him shrimp as a meal, and like they don't even remember that he's allergic to it. Whereas like at a restaurant on a date with the girl one day, like they order and she goes, "Oh, and no shrimp on his like noodles."
Okay, that's
and
sweet.
he's like, how did you know that? Because I never told you. And she's like, "Oh, I just noticed that you never eat the shrimp, so I assume you either don't like it or you're allergic." Like she made an observation and then she just like started applying it in life. So it was like an act of kindness. And that's the kind of like moments that is the milestone moments and main plot lines in those stories. So it's never about the appearance. It's about all these like traits in a person that you can control that is the driver for desire.
Was it an equivalent one where you told me that giving the drumstick of a chicken to someone is like means you like love them or something?
Not that you love them. So drumsticks are perceived as like the best part of a chicken. So if you buy a whole chicken,
Debatable,
and there's like,
but okay.
yeah, it is. But like overall, a lot of people like say the drumstick is like the ideal piece. So if you give the drumstick to someone, you're giving them the best piece, and it's supposed to be like a gesture of like, hey, you deserve the good one. But that's like applicable to everything. So it's like, what's an example? Like if you buy 2 drinks and one's colder than the others, and then you give the colder one to like someone you care about, like to your friend or your loved one, it's because you're like, you want them to have the better one.
Oh, so it's like showing consideration.
Yeah.
That is in the little things.
Yeah. And I think that, so those are little things. So in your day-to-day life, they're little things that people don't always acknowledge or notice, right? But it just happens and it makes you feel nice, but it's not like the biggest granted gesture that you would like pick up at the moment. What I love about dramas is they exaggerate those scenes and like really emphasize it and really like shine a spotlight on it. And it makes you really like acknowledge it and then appreciate it if you have that in your life, or it makes it something that you want to strive to do. Like I've definitely picked up things in fictional things that I think that should be applicable in real life. Like, and I'm practical about it. Like kindness is very easy to do. So let's just be kind to others and understand that they have a backstory that you don't know about. So show a bit more empathy. But then I also understand some of the stuff that isn't realistic to apply in real life, such as if you're a CEO of the company, you can't just drop everything to run to someone. Like I understand that's not realistic.
Yeah, I was just thinking of like, it's like when, you cook eggs and sometimes you break the yolk when you're cooking it, and then you give me the unbroken fried egg with the the whole yolk so I can break it myself. I love breaking the yolk, and I just love yolk in general. So then I get to enjoy the whole of it versus it being kind of damaged and fried up. That would be a good scene. It'd be like,
it would be a good scene.
It'd be like, you can break the egg in this, I don't know, udon or what's a Korean dish that has egg in it? That has like a whole egg in it.
I'm sure there's lots. I can't think of one on the spot though. Bimbap.
Yeah, and then you mix it in the bowl. It's like you can do the honors of cracking the egg yolk and mixing it up. Or on, steak tartare, Actually, although that's probably more work because then technically that has to be mixed up anyway. So you're actually probably doing the person the favor by mixing it up, all the ingredients and stuff. Most time, I just kind of think about food all the time when it comes to Korean culture. And the one thing I really love is how popular instant noodles have become. And you always see them eating instant noodles late at night at some random convenience store. And it's like they make it look so delicious, and it's like all these slurpy noises they make when they're eating it. It's almost like they prefer that over like a home cooked meal.
I think it's just an easy thing to
Or
eat.
maybe the instant noodle companies are like paying these dramas a bit of money to promote and be like, you need to over exaggerate how delicious it is. Although
Ramen is delicious though.
yes, as in like instant ramen, or
Both.
would you prefer like instant ramen or like ramen in a restaurant?
I mean, both. It just depends on the mood. I mean, they're both filled with sodium, which is what makes it delicious.
And MSG, probably.
And MSG. Yeah. The dog's farted and it smells. So be grateful that you guys aren't physically here and you're just watching and listening.
There's no such thing as smell vision yet.
No, and be grateful for that. Another thing to be grateful for.
Maybe that's why we also didn't let them come in previously, because it's a confined room. And yes, dogs aren't exactly polite and will go out or somewhere else to. Actually, it's funny because the thing that the dogs do is they do that and then they walk away after they've done it near you, as opposed to walking away and then doing it and then coming back.
Do that. Yeah. Anyways, so I love that kind of themes in dramas and stuff like that, and I still love it. It's February at the moment, so it's like Valentine's season, and there's all this stuff coming out related to it, like trying to like take advantage of that time of the year. There's like all these romance shows and toys and films, and I am eating it up. It just never gets old for me. I think it's so wholesome, and I think everyone deserves like half an hour or an hour of their day just swooning and kicking their feet and giggling and just having a good time.
Okay, well, you can do that.
I do that on a regular basis.
You don't need to do it just during Valentine's Day. I wouldn't even call it season.
I'm just saying that there's a lot that comes out during this season. And then it's like a nice build up. And then you have some stuff to like consume over the next few months. I'm trying to summarize like my favorite tropes in romance. So like I gave an example. I'm better at describing them if they're books. So there's a few themes in books that are pretty well categorized. One is called found family, which is when you make friends and you meet people who become like your little village of people that you love, care about, trust, feel safe around. That's found family, and that theme always gets me. And the other one is, I actually really like enemies to lovers, just in general as a general concept. I don't know why I like enemies to lover. I think I just like the passion that comes with it. It's just so, yeah, it's a lot. Can you hear that?
It's rain. It's like a massive rainstorm.
I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's like really loud for us right now. And it came very suddenly. Maybe that's why the microphone cut out before.
The rain does do strange things to tech, whether it's Wi-Fi. So I'm not surprised if these cables were picking up something. They're like, all right, we ain't going to be working today.
I think that's my order. Number one is found family. So it doesn't always have to be a romance. I think something about like friendships and just finding a community of people that you feel safe around really gets me. Enemies to lovers is probably my second favorite. And my third is probably, I think what? I like, this is not really its own category. It's normally just like something that is part of the trait of the respective couples. I love the dramatization of like ending wells for that person. So I just finished a book and there's like a really good quote that I highlighted in it, like very romantic, where there's this like main couple in it and then they're like in war at the moment. So there's like a lot going on the outside, and one of their commanders like looked at them and then he just goes to the girl. He's like, so the girl and the guy, he goes to the girl, you would put you would sacrifice yourself for the world, whereas he, or her significant other, would would sacrifice the world for you. And I really like that dramatization in fiction. In fiction, it's very toxic in real life, but in fiction, it's really sweet. I don't know why it works when it's made up. It just does.
That's very typical romance when there's like some ultimatum and someone has to die to save the world, and then they bid each other farewell, and then blah blah blah.
I think they were trying to like claim a mission to do, to like go into a dangerous area to like defeat someone significant, and then the commander's basically like, you both can't go, like I can't trust you both to go because of like the choices you will make. And then her choices being about like just self-sacrificing, which he's like, can't lose you. And then with the guy, he's like, can't lose the world just in case. Like fair call. It's really sweet. Anyway, speaking of gratitude, a good time to do our desserts. So desserts are a intentional moment that we like to take to acknowledge the sweet moments in our lives or recent moments, and we're essentially practicing gratitude. Can you think of any?
Yeah, mine is potatoes. I've been on like a cleanse diet where I'm not eating any dairy, artificial sugars, and very overly starchy food just for the next few weeks. And I really am just craving potato chips, and just realize how great and versatile they are, especially in chip form, because the way you can, cook them as fries, as beer battered chips, as straight cut, crinkly, and then all the seasonings. Anyway, I'm just making myself hungry, but I'm just really appreciative of potatoes, and I'm hoping that there's never ever going to be a potato famine, because I think I read something about like there being a potato shortage in the world, like back in the day, back in history when we weren't both alive. And I was like, that would be a sad time, like imagine not having a potato available to eat. Like, like all the fast food chains would be like, what do we serve with our burgers and chicken? We'd be, like I don't, look, I'm not a sweet potato person, so that's going to be, it's off the table. And then, it's really hard to replace potato with another vegetable, like eggplant or zucchini. It just doesn't have the same consistency, elasticity. So grateful for the potato, and all the potato farmers. Keep up your great work, because it would be a very sad world without potatoes.
That reminded me of a meme video I watched recently. So the context is like, I don't know about the rest of the world, but during the pandemic, there was a shortage of toilet paper because a lot of people were hoarding toilet paper, because like there was some like fake news about there being limited toilet paper. That was like a case where toilet paper was like, there was a shortage like in store, like it was hard to find. And then the other recent shortage where we are at the moment, there was like some bird disease, so there was less eggs being produced for a little bit. So then there was the shortage of eggs.
Oh, eggs would be that's another hard one to live without.
And then the meme that I saw was this like young guy who's like living in this era, but he goes, back in my days, people used toilet paper and eggs and threw it out houses as a prank. There was never a shortage. There was an overage that we used it as a prank.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really funny. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, they became so precious and valuable.
Yeah. 1 2 1 2. Hello, we're back. We figured it out. Our dogs are stepping on the wires. and then it like cuts out, and then it takes like a minute to kind of reset. But we're back. So gratitude. My end. This is going to a specific person. My friend Linda, who has a YouTube channel called was here, I will put a screenshot on here and also put it in the descriptions for audio listeners to go back to. She's overseas at the moment, and speaking of like small gestures and things like that, I'm really grateful for her friendship and just her kindness, because she thought of me, even though she's on holidays and she'd just be enjoying herself, because she basically just saw a shop that she knew I'd love, and she like intentionally spent like a few minutes videoing it and then going into it and sending me photos and videos just to let me know that she thought of me. And I thought it was so sweet. It made my day. It was such a small thing. But I remember, like, I think I was having like a bad day because like work was hard that day or whatever, and I was tired and hungry, whatever the reason. And I remember reading that message, and it just like gave me like a moment of like happiness. And I think I'm grateful for her, and like for her as a person, but also for her to like go out of her way to do something like that. Because like even though it's such a small thing, like it made my day, and it's special. And I think I wanted to put that out.
That's sweet.
Yeah. She makes really cool content about mostly sport, but it's kind of more everyday thing. But she's quite a sporty person, and she likes to show herself doing things to inspire other people to try new things and just to do things, which is really cool.
Yeah, she has really good, cool, like first person sort of footage when it's like.
Yeah, for snowboarding. She does a lot of POVs of snowboarding. She's picked up golf.
POV, that's it.
Yeah, she's picked up golf recently. So we're kind of watching her journey, learning how to golf, which is really, really fun to watch. And she's just, I don't know, she's a good person. It's entertaining to watch, and you just want to like root for her. Recommend her channel if you haven't already seen her content. All right, and to end things up, our meal prep. Meal preps are things we're looking forward to that are coming up, or goals we want to set for ourselves that we want to just say out loud.
Well, I think the first episode of season 2, so let's keep going. And yeah, actually would love obviously to like finish the sort of decorating of this room. It's going to be obviously, like you said, a journey, but yeah, we've started with the couch and the dogs, I guess, are a new intro. And so, yeah, looking to fill this up. So, by the end of the season, it's going to look a little bit more, there'll be some progression, essentially.
I'm really looking forward to the completion of our new opener. I think once it's like there, then I will go through it a little bit and talk about like the inspo behind it, and talk a little bit about the artist and everything like that as well. So look forward to that. Should be coming up in the next few episodes as well.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for listening, tuning in, watching wherever you are in the world. We appreciate you. We are grateful, and we thank you. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.